Isn't it fascinating how things can change in an instant? How one thought, one realization, it can ripple through your mind, reshaping everything that it touches. Like a single drop of ink in clear water, dissolving, expanding, until the entire container transforms, effortlessly, naturally, inevitably. Because that's how change happens, isn't it? Not through force, not through struggle, but through realization. And once you realize something, truly see it, it's impossible to unsee. And you might already be feeling it now, that quiet sense of something loosening inside. A thought, a belief. Something that was once so certain, now bending, shifting, making space for something new. Because here's the thing. Everything you believed was learned, and anything that was learned can be learned again, transformed, evolved. And once you know that, once you really know it, a door opens, because you've seen it before, haven't you? That moment when someone says, I can't, and then they do. That moment when something that you once thought was impossible becomes effortless. When you think about it, wasn't that always the way? Because the mind is a trickster. It tells stories so convincingly that you forgot. They were just stories. But the moment you step outside the story, the moment you ask, what else could be true? What am I not seeing yet? What if the opposite were just as possible? Then everything shifts. Because thoughts are like mirrors. They reflect back whatever you believe them to. But what happens when you tilt the mirror? When you change the angle? The whole reflection transforms, doesn't it? And in that moment you realize you were never stuck. You were just standing at the wrong angle. And as that thought settles in, something clicks. A feeling, a knowing, that deep inside, where change truly happens, something has already begun to move. And isn't it exciting? That feeling of possibility, of stepping into a new frame, a new reality, one that was always there, just waiting for you to notice it. And maybe you already have, because when you think about it, the moment you even begin to consider change, change has already begun, hasn't it? And now it's just a matter of wondering, what's the first thing you'll notice when you realize the shift is already complete? You don't even have to answer that now. Or maybe you already have, because it's already happening, isn't it? Because it's fascinating how sometimes change just sneaks up on you. You weren't even looking for it, and yet something's different now, isn't it? A thought, a feeling, something just beneath the surface, shifting, unfolding. Like a door that was always there, but now it's open. When you think about it, wasn't this shift inevitable? Because the moment you begin to wonder, the moment you even consider that a new way of thinking is possible, then something inside you already knows. Because that's how the mind works, doesn't it? It follows patterns, paths, familiar ways of thinking, until suddenly something disrupts it. A question, a realization, a new way of looking at things. And when you see it, really see it, everything changes. Like when you stare at a pattern long enough, and suddenly a new image appears. One that was always there, just waiting for your eyes to adjust. And isn't it interesting how once you see it, you can't unsee it? And maybe you've already started noticing that old thoughts, they don't feel quite the same anymore. That something you believed was solid, unmovable, now feels flexible, fluid. Something you can reshape, rewrite, reimagine. Because here's the secret. A belief is only as real as the thoughts that sustain it. When you step outside of it, when you ask yourself, what else could be true? How do I know what I know? What if the opposite were just as possible? The belief itself starts to dissolve. Because the mind, it can't hold on to something that no longer makes sense. Isn't that fascinating? How quickly something that seems so real can simply fade away, like mist burning off in the morning sun. Once that space is clear, what's left? Possibility, freedom, a new way of seeing, a new way of thinking, one that feels so natural, so right. Do you wonder, have you ever thought anything differently? And the best part, you don't even have to try, because once the shift is started, it continues on its own, effortlessly, unfolding exactly as it should. And that makes you curious, doesn't it? What's the first thing you'll notice now that everything has already changed? You don't have to answer that, or maybe you already have, because it's already happening, isn't it?